Ayo, a catechism, born under the TI-3 star sign. Let's see what Raf has to say. Former Nijisanji EN talent didn't deserve this.
Hey, what's up guys, Rip here. So today we're going to be talking about another round of Nijisanji related drama that's going to take us down some very interesting rabbit holes as we look into the EN liver, Finana Ryugu. Now, she has been with Nijisanji EN for about 3 years now. However, the public perception of her, especially in the last year or so, has shifted a bit as she has been involved with multiple controversies, and that's what we're going to look at today.
Whoa.
And like I said, we're going to go down some interesting rabbit holes, but we're going to begin with something that seems pretty innocuous. This tweet she made a few days ago talking about an experience where she thought a spider crawled into her mouth, and her realization of that possibility made her want to game end herself, which is obviously a joke about the situation. However, we would get this reply saying, maybe steer clear of the game end jokes after 2 of your coworkers attempted. So obviously this is a very brutal and harsh response to this joke. However, based on some of the past couple months of controversy involving Nijisanji, there is some layers to this. There's some context to why they're saying this. And the thing that I find really interesting is the number of likes on this reply. Doubling the number of likes of her own tweet, ratioing her in her own reply section, which is odd to me, especially for a harsher response to this towards a Nijisanji EN liver, and also the post talking about the fact that she blocked this user got nearly 8,000 likes as well, and it made me ask, what is going on? Why are people so quick to support anything that is criticizing Finana? Well, if we take a deeper look at her account and some of her recent activities over the past couple of years, I think there's a reason why the public perception of her has shifted over time, and we're going to go down some pretty serious rabbit holes, but we're going to begin with arguably her first controversy, and this was one that started about a year and a half ago, back in 2022. So she made this tweet saying, low-key sad I have to say this, but I think I'm going to have to ban a word that has 2 definitions on my streams because it's used as a disrespectful slang to describe gender, and I hate seeing it appear in chat. Every time I play a new gacha, it makes me uncomfy. Please just use respectful terms. Now, she is referring to the term trap. She is offended by the word trap, thinking it's an offensive.
I'm not gonna tell people what they can or cannot ban in their video game like VTuber chat on the internet. It's you create a space that suits the purposes you're trying to achieve, right? It's like that's what you do as a streamer, as a VTuber, as whatever, right? Like what I'm doing too in a way, right? Although I do like to get my own clarity as well, but hey, that's only gonna go so far.
Word inherently, I guess, and you know. This is some Reddit tier outrage, okay? I don't have to go into why I think this is an overreaction to that word, but this is the part that really got people going. It was the reply saying, and most importantly, educate yourself. Now, this sort of finger-wagging virtue signaling did not go over well with people, and this is something that Nijisanji has been much more closely related to, a bunch of virtue signaling and stuff like that, when counterparts at places like Hololive joke about things like trap without feeling
like those generic statements like be better, educate yourself, I like the good things, you like the bad things maybe, just be better, just be good, like just all be good, just go be good, like become good. It's so cheap, and it's like it's also generically agreeable. Like if you don't have your guard up, you might just see this and be like, yeah, that's just like good things are good, bad things are bad. Yeah, of course. But like this is just her having a take on her chat, right? Like she wants to control her chat, and that's fair. Like, go girl, you can do whatever you want with your chat. I don't care. It's fair. But like, so when you throw in that like cheap W, which isn't that W at all, then you think about it, like, oh yeah, educate yourself, guys. I have the good takes. Everyone else has the bad takes. It's like, dude,
feeling the need to explain to everyone or to chastise others over the use of that word. But that is just the starting point for today's video. We're now going to shift our focus on this channel right here, Armchair Expert, who's only made a couple of videos, but they're all very good. And their latest one is an absolute banger, and I definitely recommend you guys checking it out. And I'll put a link to it in the description. But to sum up this video for the purposes of this current video, he talks about the termination of Selen/Dokibird and compares it to the termination of Zaion Lanza/Sayu, and how these 2 terminations are actually very similar in their details, especially when you look at how management handled that situation, beginning by demonizing these two livers, and then, most importantly, using their own talents, their own livers, to further spread that narrative and to try to control the public narrative of the situation by expressing their shock and their disappointment over what happened and try to refute some of the claims that Dokibird or Sayu made when they talked about the situation once they moved back to their independent accounts. However, we know that one campaign worked a lot more effectively, i.e. Zaion, than it did with Selene, which backfired horribly once the EN Livers tried to come in and basically voice the opinions and the narrative of the management. Now, looking at Zaion Lanza, so she had a very brief stint with Nijisanji about a month before she was terminated. However, we are lucky to see the independent VTuber Sayu continue to share the experiences of Zaion that she had while she was at Nijisanji. It's been very, very useful for not only the public knowledge, but also corroborating some of the experiences shared by Dokibird when she talks about her time with her former agency. Now, here is the termination announcement of Zaion. We have talked about this a lot before, but to sum this up,
you can rule out nothing when it comes to a company and their PR. You know what I mean? They'll do whatever they can.
Very quickly, when she was terminated, it looked like the rap sheet of a war criminal. They listed about 12 different violations that resulted in her termination, stemming from basically the use of a fellow Nijisanji liver's song on stream to something where they claimed she was making remarks regarding SA, which of course was completely blown out of proportion. That case involved her making a joke while playing a video game where that comment was made about a fictional character. In fact,
yeah, this is just a fake reason, right? If it's like that.
Everything contained within this list of offenses was either A, made up, or B, completely over-exaggerated, or C, they were about fictional content. But unfortunately, Twitter didn't care. They saw especially the stuff involving fictional characters, and they absolutely brutalized her. It was hard to watch, okay? I have not seen someone get treated so poorly.
Some variant of the Twitter brain is like, your thoughts have feelings too, you know what I mean? The characters in your head, so you can't think the wrong things. It's like, yeah, but how are you gonna game theoretically play through any situation? Like, you're just gonna be like on blind mode for the rest of your life? I don't understand.
Then Sayu/Zaion did in this situation, in the fallout. The amount of harassment that they received was unbelievable. And as pointed out by Armchair Expert here, this was greatly exacerbated by the fact that after her termination, there were 3 streams by other EN Livers dedicated to talking about the termination of Zaion. And this obviously stoked the flames by not only trying to confirm the reasons that she was suspended or terminated in this case, but they also had very emotional responses, which really riled up fans even more, to the point where the harassment actually got worse as a result. This was Nijisanji management trying to control the narrative through their own livers. Does that sound familiar? It should. It should remind you of what happened with Dokibird. Now, there was another person who would make comments about the termination of Zaion, and that, of course, was Finana, who did this unofficially in a stream shortly after. Let's remind ourselves of some of the things she said back about a year and a half ago about Zaion's termination.
With the recent announcement about Zaion that happened, I actually have a lot of feelings that really welled up in me, because I believe on what was mentioned on the termination thing, it mentions things like how she lied to other people and stuff, and I apparently happened to be one of those people, actually. So I was feeling really depressed for quite a while. So I've never had that happen to me before, so it was really wild. But I hate that I'm a really nice person sometimes and like to give others the benefit of the doubt. But there was one time where I was trying to help her out. I gave her some advice, to, do it properly. But she didn't really listen to
Speak like 0.5 speed, by the way.
what I said, so that got her in trouble. And I thought it was a misunderstanding from staff side, so
Hey, that could be the case, right? I mean, this miscommunication, it keeps happening, right? So I'm not saying, you know, but I'm just saying.
you know, and this happened like during my vacation, my recent vacation, and I spent some of my
It's kind of hard to listen to when there's no specifics.
time to sort of defend her a bit. But then I realized I got gaslit after that. I was like, oh my god. I didn't realize I was just gaslit the entire time, and
Also, I'll say the charge of gaslighting is a little... It's a real concern, but also people have really dysfunctional ways to communicate at times. And so gaslighting implies a sort of intent, and it's often not the case, right? A lot of people are low-key delusional and have, you know, crappy ways to communicate as a result. I'm not gonna defend anyone here in particular or throw anyone under the bus, but so this word gets thrown around too much, the gaslighting, just in general.
I did all of that for nothing, basically. So I felt really horrible about it, and I was
But it was just a bit, right?
really sad that she didn't really mention to me either about it or talk to me about it. So I felt really hurt for a while.
Now, as I said earlier, I think we're very
Damn.
lucky to not only see Sayu return to her independent career, but also the fact that she has used that opportunity to share the experiences of Zaion. That's allowed us to have additional context as to some of the behaviors of Nijisanji and their livers. Now, this will happen once again with that Finana clip we just watched. We're going to get some additional context thanks to this clip by Rainbow Retirees here, where there is a clip of Sayu talking about that exact video from Armchair Expert, where there's a particular section which contains the statement made by Kotaka back then, talking about Zaion's termination. So not only will Sayu express Zaion's disappointment in this statement by Kotaka, but she would also move into the topic of how Zaion felt backstabbed by another member of Nijisanji En, and based on the context, it seems very clear that she is talking about Finana. So we're going to listen to a bit of this clip to give you some...
When I look with scrutiny at that statement earlier by Finana, it's like, it's not great, but it doesn't have to mean anything, right? It could just be the way she copes with life, right? Again, like, it's tricky.
More context as to how she felt backstabbed by some of these public statements, because they had talked about these issues and tried to handle it privately, and then everything just switched up.
It happened again, kind of thing, you know? Like, why couldn't you just talk? And this happened twice with another girl there, obviously, who was one of someone that Zaion thought she was very close to as well. And she also got backstabbed after they talked, which was even worse. They talked privately and cleared up everything and explained things. And she basically told the story that got told before they talked. It was her thoughts on what happened before they even talked things through. And that's why I am...
We don't even know if it's that person just yet, right? I mean, maybe somebody who knows the situation better than me can be more confident about this.
Angry at her because it's like the whole talk never happened between the two of them. Like, they talked privately in DMs, and oh boy, I wish she had screenshotted that. But it was very, very long. Like, I do not like accusing people of doing things that are bad or negative. I don't like doing that because a lot of people just make mistakes. I make mistakes.
I make mistakes too. But so if I make a mistake and somebody call me out on it, I can make a vid on it and apologize, right? I mean,
A lot of people just have bad wording, but I do not understand why.
But like, how you want to improve your wording? Well, maybe somebody call you out on it and you make a vid on it, and then maybe you have better wording. I don't know.
Why she would talk about what happened if they had already talked things
If that's too tall of an order, get better health. Like, for real. Good health is number one.
through, as if they had. Like, it's very, very hurtful. And I think that being in the industry, in this space for so long, she knows the weight of her words. Not like Kotaka, where Kotaka maybe didn't know the weight of her word, how much it would affect and hurt.
Like, you don't need to be mean about. You don't need to be mean about calling out when people make mistakes, right? People also suck at calling this stuff out, right? Like, I try to give this the nuance it has, but it's hard.
The person afterwards.
It takes practice, I guess.
but the other one definitely did. And that is what I don't like. I think that is very ill-willed.
So based on the additional context, I think you can understand why someone like Zaion would have felt backstabbed by those public statements made by Nijisanji and Livers. However, let's return to the armchair expert video that is comparing the termination of Selene versus Zaion. Now, we've seen all the additional context involving Zaion/Sayu. Let's return to the other point of comparison, which is Selene/Dokibird. Now, you can see Selene here. It's been, wow, about 3 months since her termination. Time is flying. And we remember this statement.
I thought it was longer. Interesting.
Just like with the Zaion termination, there is a statement made that is riddled with what the subjects claim is misinformation and false claims about their behavior in the agency. And you can see, at least with this one, it is riddled with community notes and fact checks trying to disprove what Nijisanji was trying to claim in their termination notice for Selene. However, we also saw in the...
quick note on community notes. I heard they don't work that well where there's big money at stake and not just like funny VTuber company, which is super unprofessional in many ways.
Coming days after the termination, a joint statement on Alira Pandora's channel alongside Ike Eveland and Vox Akuma, where they tried to demonize and throw Dokibird under the bus. Does that sound familiar? Well, it should, because it's exactly what happened to Zaion, except in this case, it went completely south. Unfortunately, the unfair treatment of Sayu/Zaion is fully present. People gobbled up, especially the emotional responses from those Nijisanji and Livers, and used it to harass Sayu and Zaion, and it led to a very terrible result. But as you can see here with the Dokibird situation, who shared this message? Finana. And she's not the only one. Off the top of my head, I know also Hex Haywire, who made one of these statements against Zaion, also shared these statements for the Dokibird situation, so she's not the only one. But really, this
she's still working with the company. She got to do what the company say, right? I mean, unless she want to quit the company too.
Highlights the behaviors of people like Finana and also Nijisanji and their Livers as a whole. And this video really helps give some context as to the fact that this is not new. This behavior in the treatment of Dokibird/Selene was not new, and it was...
Like having options is super important, right?
Very, very reminiscent of how Sayu/Zaion was treated, and I think there's a lot to learn there. And also, like I said, the injustice that happened, especially with the public perception of Zaion when she was first terminated, and how people demonized her and bandwagoned and really started some of the nastiest harassment campaigns.
And yeah, that sucks. It's good that people make wits on that and don't just do the like zero friction social media interaction
we've ever seen. And despite the fact that there's still antis who are always going to attack Sayu and Zaion, I am glad there is a shifting narrative where a lot more people are starting to have sympathy for her and their experiences, and to understand that, hey, what happened to her was wrong too, and maybe we had the wrong perception and we shouldn't have joined in on the hate, and maybe people will have more of an appreciation for what she has done to help shine some light on the behaviors of various Nijisanji Livers as well as their management. But for now, that is going to do it for this video. I appreciate you guys hanging in there and listening. And like I said earlier, you should check out this video from Armchair Experts.
Yeah, I'll link that, and Ref says Desu's with below. Leave him a like and all the good stuff. Rate, comment, share. Think about sharing. And with that said, I hope you have a good one. Stay safe. Maybe meet again. Meow.